Hi friends. I know that a lot of you already know this if you follow me on Twitter. I actually also posted it on Instagram recently. But like I've been saying, I feel like this is the platform. Even though it's like one of my smallest, I feel like it's like the one that I care about the most. And sitting here and filming a video about this actually feels harder and more important than just like a tweet or an Instagram post. And I think that's because of the circumstances, and also this is the place where I've shared like the most of myself and my life, and for the longest. I know a lot of you have been here since the beginning, and that's so crazy and so kind of terrifying but cool to me. And I just feel I just have so many thoughts and emotions, and I have put off making this sort of unintentionally because I've just been feeling, it just has felt impossible to me with how I'm feeling emotionally. I'm also glad that I did wait a while to sit here and talk about this, because I want this to be a positive video. And like, as much as my recent videos I've been saying this has been the hardest, month of my life, or these 2 days were like the hardest days of my life, hardest week of my life, it's true. You can probably imagine why I didn't necessarily want to make this video in that state. Well, I guess I haven't even said it yet. I'm sure it's the title, but I am pregnant. Right now it is December 13th, and the rest of this video, after I talk for a second, is gonna be, it's not a happy video. I mean, it is, and like in this moment it is. It's just like the journey and the other things that have been accompanying this pregnancy and this time in my life are just very gut-wrenching and heartbreaking for me. And so I want to keep this part of the video positive. Things are not always how you envisioned them to be. That's not always how things play out. You could think of something your whole life and imagine it, and then when it finally happens, it can be totally different, and that's normal and that's okay. I do know that the state I have been in forget how hard the rest of the year was, like specifically the last month, closer to 2 months, but like I know that the state that I have been in is going to be temporary, and it is getting better every single day. And so I want to acknowledge that and like honor that. Like I said, the rest of this video is not gonna necessarily be like your typical I'm pregnant video, or it's definitely not your we're pregnant video. And I guess I've been like grappling with that, because I just think about like one day, if my child were to see this, and I've the amount of pain and like hurt and suffering that I have been experiencing and that you'll see some of in this video, like I never want my child to see this and be like, and be hurt that I'm saying all these things and feeling all of these things about how this is like the hardest time in my life, and I'm very upset and hurt and it's heartbreaking. I didn't want them to have to see this and feel like they were or are a problem. Because the reality is that I haven't cried in a few days. The reality is that this being a really hard time for me is separate from the fact that I'm pregnant with a child. And unfortunately, like the pain and the heartache and all of those things and the confusion, and unfortunately, like that's also happening at the same time. But if things were different, this could be just purely the happiest time, It has nothing to do, for me, with the fact that I'm carrying a child. Like I already have so much. Girl, you're supposed to go to dinner after this. What the fuck? I already have so much love and excitement, because I have learned in sharing that I am pregnant and single, and I was left because of being pregnant, sharing that on, Twitter and Instagram. I've learned that like it's not common, but it's not like I'm the only person in this situation. And if my child is anything like me, which I hope, I know the gender, so I keep trying to say they, and I've probably had to cut it a few times, but if they're anything like me, and I hope to God that they are, they will understand, appreciate, and respect the fact that I am sharing this with whoever may watch it. Granted, I hope they don't care as much about helping other people and putting others before themselves as much as I do, but that's a different story. I've decided that, like, firstly, it is what it is. Even if I didn't share it, it would be explained to them one day. I'm sorry if I've been like vague so far. I'm trying to figure out how to structure this, because I did want this part of the video to be happy, and then I also want to explain the situation, which incidentally isn't happy. I've had a lot of issues with my freaking uterus, and when I was 23, I was diagnosed with endometriosis. I feel like I'm having deja vu because I said this a year ago when I filmed a video about how I got pregnant and it was an ectopic pregnancy. And a year ago in December, I had surgery. I believe I was between 11 and 12 weeks pregnant when I found out that I was pregnant, and then 2 days later I had surgery because it was an ectopic pregnancy, and that was the first time I had ever been pregnant. And I had Nexplanon, which is the birth control that you get in your arm, and I got Nexplanon because it's supposed to be able to help with endometriosis, which apparently it does a little too well, because somehow that made it so that I had a prime uterus to be fertile. But when that happened, I was like, okay, so I've been going, much of my life thinking when the time comes that I want to have kids, it's going to be difficult and I might have to do IVF. I might not even be able to do that. At 26, I got pregnant, and at 27, I had the surgery for my ectopic pregnancy. So that was very hard for me, because it was like, whoa, I got pregnant, found that out, and then 2 seconds later it was like, well, it's an ectopic pregnancy. And then I'm like, what the fuck is that? And then 2 days later I'm getting surgery. It all happened so fast. I genuinely haven't fully processed it yet. I don't think. Maybe. I don't know. But even after that, I dealt with postpartum. I think just like hormonally, I don't know, for honestly up until like October of this year, which is like when I got pregnant, I think. Wait, no, I got pregnant in September. Sorry for that flashback, but I think it's kind of relevant because about a month before I found out I was pregnant last year, I had the Nexplanon removed because I was feeling so sick. I had all these horrible symptoms, and I was like, it's this freaking Nexplanon, like, get it out of me. Turns out it was likely because I was pregnant, and that's why I was feeling that horrible, because I got it out and I still felt horrible. Fast forward to earlier this year, there was a time that I was on the mini pill, which is just progesterone only pill, again to try and help with endometriosis. That kind of scared me because I was like, well, Nexplanon is also only progesterone, and like, it seems to me like that's like the opposite of birth control for me. Anyway, since July of this year, I haven't been on anything. When I had sex with my ex-boyfriend, we most of the time would use, what is it called? It's called VCF. They're like these little, those like Listerine breath strips that you put on your tongue and they dissolve? It's kind of like that, but bigger, and you put it in you before sex. It's like a spermicide type situation. Even though I was like, dude, I'm infertile, like, I know this happened, like, I know I did get pregnant, but it was ectopic, and that's when I was on Nexplanon, so like, but just to be safe, we would do that, and also, I'm just gonna be real, and also pull out, like, every time. There were a few times we didn't use that, and one of those times, early September, and I used to track my period with the Clue app. When I found out I was pregnant, which I believe was like, found out before my birthday, so I found out I was pregnant pretty early on. I looked back and saw that, like, because you log, like, when you have sex, if it's unprotected, withdrawal, whatever, and I made tags and I literally wrote, like, if we used the spermicide or not, and there were 2 days back to back where we did not, and according to the app, which is not necessarily accurate, but I was ovulating. You would think I'm just the most fertile person on the fucking earth, right? No, like, my whole life it's been like, you're not gonna have kids without like a lot of effort and probably IVF, maybe. Gonna fast forward a little bit. My ex and I were rocky in that I never felt that I was getting what I need from a relationship, and I was not asking for a lot. Go back and watch my videos where I talk about this kind of thing. I'm not gonna get too much into that right now. Just being unhappy and like promises being made and then not followed through with, things like that. But he made it very clear to me that he isn't ready for a kid. And look, like I said, I'm gonna be honest in this video. I mean, it should be obvious. Like, were we trying to have a kid? No, we weren't. To me, the fact that it happened again, since the day I found out I was pregnant, I have felt, number one, this is a miracle, and number two, I've just felt this like responsibility and just like pull toward keeping this child. It's not a coincidence. Having one person that isn't ready, and me who, it's not ideal for me, right? Like you wanna be like married and, you know, living with someone, or at least living with someone. But the thing is, like, one, I am financially stable. Two, I'm 28 years old. I would want to be having a kid within like 4 years anyway. Three, I am pro-choice. However, I know myself. Up until like a month ago, have been vegan. It's a different story. I kind of had to make some changes since being pregnant because I'm having a hard time putting on weight or even maintaining weight with all of the fucking stress happening. Like, I tried to eat shrimp like about a year ago and I started crying. Like, I know that would kill me to choose to abort my child. I know it would kill me. Unless, like, if I think back to like when I first moved to LA and like I was barely making rent, you know. At the position that I'm in right now, like, I am mature, I am financially stable, like, I am gonna be a good fucking mom. Like, I've known since I was little that, like, I'm gonna be the best mom. That's, like, all I ever wanted in life, you know? So, I've just known since I found out that, like, there's just kind of no question. Sorry, my card got full, so we've taken, like, a 30-minute intermission. I have eaten a lot of red Mike and Ike's because that is quite literally the only craving, I think, pretty much the only craving that I've had. I have like a lot of aversions, but red Mike and Ike's, like, from now on, in the future, when I get pregnant, I will know. Because a year ago, it was the same thing. I was craving candy, which I'm a chocolate bitch. First of all, I'm a savory and like salty bitch mostly. And then I want chocolate for dessert. I never want like gummy candy or anything. And when I started like only being able to stomach like candy, like Mike and Ike's, High Chew, just like chewy, fruity candy, I was like, that's weird. Then I found out I was pregnant, and then this time it's been the same, and it literally, like, since I got pregnant, it's like, I need red Mike and Ike's. And also, hello, Mike and Ike, if you're still around, please make a box of just red Mike and Ike's. Okay, I digress. So, I was saying that being with someone who made it clear that they were not ready, you know, even when I explained to them basically what I explained to you, and like how much having an abortion would quite literally like make me want to die, pretty much like crush me for the rest of my life. He obviously wanted me to get an abortion. So much so that we sat down and made a list, essentially. And now, first of all, mind you, this was his idea. He wasn't believing me when I told him I was pregnant just because of how we had been using spermicide and pulling out and all of that. And so I took him with me to an appointment, and so that he could actually know that I was pregnant. After that day, he made a list of things that he was going to do to show that he would be there for me after I got an abortion. First of all, this list situation back in like July had happened already because, like I said, I was feeling bad in the relationship. And so as a way to like show, you know, commitment and dedication and make change, this and that, there was a list that was made with all of these different things on it that 90% of them were things that are just like normal, you know, like I would like to meet your parents since I've known you for almost 2 years and I am at your house almost every day, which is actually your parents' house, and I'm not allowed to meet them. So normal things like that. And also therapy was a priority. Booking therapy, I would pay for it. These were things like on the initial, there were maybe like 8 things on this list. Thinking back, maybe one of them happened. So fast forward to being pregnant, he again makes a list and shows me it, and one of the things is come home with me for Thanksgiving and meet my family, which it was actually just my parents and 2 of my sisters. Meet his family. Moving in together was on that list also, which like we were planning on moving in come January, which has really fucked me because I now have to be out of my place. This is gonna stress me out. Oh my god. This stresses me out so much because I'm still unsure and overwhelmed. I made arrangements basically to be the fuck out of this house December 31st, and because we were supposed to be moving in together somewhere, you know, driving to come see me because I pretty much was always the one that went there like multiple times a week, stuff like that. And we did look at a couple of places, and I made a list of a bunch of places that we were supposed to go look at. Everything else seemed to be really just like getting pushed away. Oh, something else I just thought of. Might seem stupid, and it is, but it's more like symbolic. For Valentine's Day last year, I did like a scavenger hunt situation where like the ending thing was like we're going to Hawaii, and then we went to Hawaii in March. But one of the scavenger hunt presents was a puzzle with this photo of me that he took that he likes, and it's literally a puzzle. He has like this art of like naked girls on his wall, blah blah blah, and I'm like, why don't you put up a photo of me? Hello. So he was like, I'm gonna do the puzzle and I'm gonna frame it and put it on my wall. You know, it's been almost a year since then. And so I put that on the list. I was like, finish the fucking puzzle. Do the puzzle and frame it. So it sounds stupid. It sounds like, you know, puzzle, but it's more just like, it's not that hard. Like, there was an audiobook like a year ago that I gave him access to, like my Audible library, and I was like, just listen to this, you know, like just listen to it. But that was on the list, which sounds silly, but like, do you understand what I'm saying? It just was like to show follow through and commitment, because like I said, that was the thing that was really lacking. And like the reason why back in July or June there was like a list that was made, because I was like, you are saying all these things and they're never happening, you know. I've talked a lot about this, but like you should pay attention to patterns, not potential. And like our nervous system needs like repetition, and it needs things to be happening versus like promises and, oh, this is gonna happen in the future. Like, so that was a huge issue. So naturally, understandably, when there was another list happening where I needed to get an abortion, now look, probably to cover his ass, he would say, it's your choice, but blah, 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 blah. Like, just all of these things. Oh, I just remembered something, sorry. Having a kid within 2 years. So, like, I'm not ready right now, but, like, literally in 2 years. Like, we'll be living together, blah, 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 everything will be fine. In 2 years. That was another thing. He would say, you know, it's your choice. I'll still be there for you if you choose to keep the baby. Let me just put that out there. Well, it actually, at first he said, it will ruin us. Like, we won't be able to stay together if you have the baby. Like, why can't you just do an abortion? We'll be better, blah, blah, blah. And then we got in a fight, I remember, and I was like, that's... So you are saying that you made this list just so that I'll get an abortion. And he was like, no, I didn't mean that. It's just like emotional. Like, try to understand. Like, this is a lot. And I'm like, oh, trust me, I understand. The message that I'm receiving is I have to get an abortion. Just because a couple of times he said it's my choice doesn't mean that that's the message I was receiving. Just like he could say all of these things that he was gonna do, but that never happened. Was he holding a knife to my throat and saying you're gonna have an abortion? No, but it was heavily manipulated and coerced and literally bribed. Like, here's a list. I made the mistake before of getting back together with him when he came to me with like this list of things, right? And they never happened. And I talked about this on Twitter already. This isn't like something I'm trying to hide at all. You can have your thoughts and opinions on it, but ultimately with the way it played out, like, I don't know, man. I can't imagine anyone that would be in their sane mind and say that what I did was wrong. But I was questioning, like, okay, so if let me just think about this. If I say I do get an abortion, is all this stuff gonna happen actually? Because if so, it would be very hard for me, but at least I would be but at least like our relationship would finally like evolve and finally like take the step and like be more emotionally connected and just all the things that I had been wanting. If everything on the list and just other things like happened, then it would be a lot easier to stomach. Versus I get an abortion, and then what I hoped would not happen, but always knew would happen, him not following through. And I'm like, the way I'm explaining this is, it is way too nice, let me tell you. It is giving way too much credit. Like, the amount of fucking messages I have from this person saying like, no matter what, I will be there for you. The only thing that could possibly break us up is if like I watch you having sex with someone else. Like, just so I'm giving them a lot of credit in this, okay? Okay. I thought, you know, if what I fear happens, then I will have lost my child and it will have been for nothing, because there's also no more relationship, because I can't be with someone that makes me that is just a bad partner. Honestly, I went along with it, you know. I said, okay, let's see the action. Let's see that you're gonna follow through with everything you're saying. I mean, at first looked great. He was like, I'm gonna call these apartments, I'm gonna call therapists, or he did call therapists. We had this app that I downloaded that was not therapy, it was sort of just like trying to like create an emotional connection where you had to like write and answer prompts and whatever, learn about each other, all that. He was doing that over time, and over, you know, 3 weeks, maybe less than 3 weeks, I think, it started being like, oh, I'm gonna do this tomorrow, I'm gonna do this tomorrow, or we're gonna do this weekend. And like things kept getting pushed, which is what has always happened. It's always like, I promise this day I'm gonna do this for you. That day comes, it's like, I promise I'll do it this day. And literally sometimes it had been stretched out so far as like months with certain things. And so I noticed that started happening. I noticed that I was still going over to his house. I noticed that everything was like, it was always like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. I wasn't feeling secure. I wasn't feeling, you know, he had asked me like when I wanted to get engaged, and I was like within the year. It just wasn't feeling good until there was one day where I was like, what if I do this, I have an abortion, and then I never feel the same way about you again. Like, I always resent you. I always, not resent, that's the wrong word. I always, you know, blame you. I'm always going to think about it, and then I'm going to blame you. What if, like, I can never love you the same? What if blah, 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 blah. And there was one day, and I remember it very clearly because it really stuck with me, and he said, that's not going to happen, and if it does, like, I will fight for you every single day, because I will know what you went through for me. I will always put you first. But him saying, like, I will fight for you every day might sound like, okay, my boyfriend said that to me. Well, he doesn't say stuff like that. And so to me, I was like, whoa, I actually feel secure for once in my relationship with him. And not that it matters, but we've always wanted to go to Bora Bora. After we had that conversation that day, like, I remember booking tickets to Bora Bora for us for literally supposed to be going like in 2 days, but I'm not going alone. And yeah, a few more days pass. I'm still feeling the same. I'm feeling, first of all, so emotional, so hormonal, so messed up, and nothing is changing. And it's sort of like he keeps saying all of this stuff is gonna happen like on Monday, and it was a Friday, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna tell him that I got an abortion. So I did, and I said I got one, and I said I didn't want to let you know because I'm not fully like secure with you. I just wanted to do it by myself, you know. That's what I told him. I didn't. But I had a theory. I had a hypothesis. Actually, it's kind of a theory. Once I told him that I had an abortion, it would become clear to me if what he said, all of these promises that he made, if he just said that so that I would get an abortion, or if he planned on doing it regardless. If I kept the baby, if I didn't keep the baby, regardless, which is what he said it was. He literally said, like, oh, even if you decide to keep it, like, I don't think it's a good idea, I'm not ready, blah, 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 but, like, I will still be there. I'll still do all the things, whatever. And as I suspected, after I said that, things slowed down even more. I think it was less than 2 weeks after I said that I had an abortion that he was supposed to come home with me for Thanksgiving. If you remember, it was one of the things on the list. He wasn't going to. First it was his parents, then he said he was sick. I know now because I literally talked to his dad the other day. He wasn't sick. We just have a tradition. So I was very upset by him saying that he couldn't come to Thanksgiving. What happened after that is literally a different story time, because that's when the whole missing and dead trending on Twitter thing happened, but that's not relevant at this point. I was very upset. I was like, you are a fraud. You are literally a liar. Like, I went off saying, like, you just manipulated me, forcing me to have an abortion, blah, 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 blah. That night, the night before, I'm supposed to drive home to my parents, and it's like a 7-hour drive, and I get super upset because he's like, I'm sick, like, seriously? Like, I guess I broke up with him. I don't know. I, like, literally blacked out because I was being pregnant. Like, there's some times where I'm, like, dissociated, or I don't know if it's just I'm so hormonal that, like, everything is too intense, and then when I try to look back on it, I'm like, I don't really remember what happened. But apparently I broke up with him, but I'm sure I was just angry, you know, because I mean, yeah, like, all of the pieces start to fall. Like, we haven't been to therapy, we haven't done this, we haven't done that, like, you're not coming home with me for Thanksgiving, which was like the most important thing to me at the time. And so I was so hurt, and he that night blocked me everywhere. Didn't even say he was going to, nothing. Fast forward almost 2 weeks later, I think, we finally talk on the phone. and he says, I'm gonna unblock you. We can like text like friends, I guess, but like he kept saying, I don't want to talk to you for a month. Like I need to get better. I'm so anxious, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not, I know I'm saying that and it sounds like I'm downplaying like anxiety. I'm not, obviously, but it's like, come the fuck on. And I'm like, well, I think it's messed up that you said you'd be there for me, this and that and this and that, and you're not. And this was sort of my last test. I said, which honestly, it should have been over a long time ago, but this was whatever. My last test was me saying, I would rather you like talk to me and be there for me for like the next 2 weeks because I'm so emotional and hormonal, and then never talk to me again, rather than you not talk to me for a month right now when I'm so vulnerable. And he said, I just can't, I can't. And talk to me, he meant like see me in person, whatever. Literally that same night, I tell him that I am still pregnant. After that, he blocks me again, and since that night, that was like maybe December 1st, so like 2 weeks ago, we haven't spoken and blocked everywhere. The reason I said that I talked to his dad is because I went over there with like a folder of like ultrasounds, some papers, stuff like that. Because for me, like, just give me a fucking answer, yes or no. Are you going to be involved? Do you plan on being involved or no? Because like the uncertainty of that is what is fucking me up. And I went there and his dad was fucking, I don't even want to get into that because I will get angry. I can't even think about that. It makes my blood boil. But one of the things was like, well, but he's not ready for a relationship. And I'm like, I am not here to beg someone to be back in a relationship with me, okay? I am quite literally here, the mother of your son's fucking child. Dang it, my camera just died. I'm just here to try and figure, like, it has nothing to do with a romantic relationship, okay? Can you just stop? Like, this is just for me, for my own fucking sanity. I don't know, like, can I move out of the state? Because I'm highly contemplating that. You don't know, like, you have to, like, I'm just trying to communicate like a goddamn fucking adult about a very serious thing. Like, this is a child. I honestly don't care. Whatever he says, whether he says, literally forget I exist, you can sue me for child support. I'm not going to. Well, I just learned that in California, child support is based on both people's incomes combined, so who knows? Or, like, yeah, I want to be, you know, have some custody. Like, I do not care what the fucking answer is. I just want an answer, okay? And now where I'm at, like, I'm taking no answer as if I wanted to get child support, I could, but then there would be some parental rights, whatever. So I'm just taking that as like, you're a shit person that can't even communicate with me about your literal child. And I know one day, or when he sees me with someone else raising his child, unless he is a psychopath, that is going to mess with him a little bit. Because that's quite literally his spawn. All of these weeks of me being like so confused and like tormented and anguished, like it's not about like the relationship ending. It's like the desire that I have, like, to protect my child, and I know that in order to do that, I have to be so calm. My anxiety and stress can't be the way that they have been. I can't be going through the most difficult time mentally while also having a healthy pregnancy, and I do not want to pass on any sort of anything, and like that is what terrifies me the most. And part of me is like, is that why he's doing this? So that, like, knock on wood, God forbid, I'm not saying this to manifest it, but like, so that I miscarry because I'm so stressed out and like distraught? Is that why? Because that's not gonna happen. It's all insane. It's all fucking insane. And so that lack of clarity and the lack of having an answer, and also just literally going from what I thought was like the most commitment finally, and like all of these things were happening that I had been wanting, to blocked, not communicating, just the exact opposite. Like, it would have been better to have like a slow fade out, or like just to say before you block me, like, I don't want to be involved ever. But no, it was like, it's, you guys, anyone I talk to about this is baffled. And so if you're watching this thinking like that doesn't make sense, it doesn't. All of November I was like such a hormonal fucking mess, like, and I don't like remember it. That's what's so weird, is like I hardly remember. I don't know. And I mean, it's hard now, but I'm in my second trimester and I am feeling less like physically sick. I have more energy. My hormones still feel a little bit crazy, but like different. It's not just like randomly crying like it was for the first, I don't know, up until like 11 weeks. Okay, now, like I said, I wanted this to be positive, and I know that like 90% of it isn't going to read that way, but that's, I guess, because I just wanted to give the backstory in this video, because it's one thing to just make a video and say, I'm pregnant, and then it's a 30-second video. I wanted to explain what's been going on, because everyone's like, why are you being so vague? You know, and the weird thing, sad thing is that I actually was vague in this video. Like I don't want to air out everything, and I tried to make things seem a lot more, I don't know, civil than they actually were. At the end of the day, despite all of that, this is a happy video. It is. And did I plan for this to happen? No. Is this the circumstances that I ever saw myself in while pregnant? No. Like growing up, I never was like a girl that thought about my wedding or like the day I got married. Like I've never thought about what that would look like, but I've always thought about like being at the doctor's office, having an ultrasound, and like holding hands with the fucking father of the baby, hopefully my boyfriend or husband, looking at the ultrasound. And that's like, I have that just recurring imagination, I don't know what you want to call it. I've just thought about that since I was little. And so I got really emotional at my last appointment. I had a couple of ultrasounds by myself also, but at the most recent one, I guess just it's so much more real now, and I know now that like it is just me. And I mean, the baby is like, it's just so much more of like a tangible, it seems so much more tangible now, you know. I was kind of a wreck after that appointment for like several days, which you guys probably saw. You know, being there alone in like a cold gown, and like hearing the tech say things and be so like excited and say, you know, it was such a strange feeling. And I feel guilty for even feeling like a tinge of anything other than just like gratitude and awe and happiness in that moment, but I can't help it. Like I was like, I did feel like a pit in my stomach. Like I wish we were sharing this. And okay, I'm getting very emotional, so I'm gonna stop this. It's also probably a very long video. I'm sorry. Is this gonna have to be a two-part? I'm sorry, but this might have to be a two-part video just with how much I've talked. I have the stuff I was talking about that's like sad, but it's like telling the story. I could just put it in this video, I suppose. I don't know. But the next video that I post, not necessarily the next video because I'm trying to do Vlogmas, but the next video that I post talking about this, we're not talking about the backstory. We're talking about what's going on right now with like my body and my plans. And maybe this month or maybe next month I'll do the gender reveal. I have so much support and love from my family, my parents, my sisters, from my best friends, from even my ex's best friends or like close friends have been reaching out to me, and there's not a lack of love for this child, that's for sure, even if it was just me. So yeah, that's where I'm gonna end this off. And yeah.